Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this, which is the 7th panel of our symposium. And today we will turn to a topic that has been also very much part of the long Bergen Sudan collaboration, which is the heritage of Sudan, as it has been studied by archaeologists, by historians, and by other disciplines in the humanities. Sudan, as I'm sure all of you are aware of, has the privilege of being very rich in heritage, from the Bronze Age and the Kerma civilization, the ancient period, through Christian Nubia, to the rich and varied Islamic history of the different Sudanese regions. And not least the archives and legacies of the modern period, the colonial and the post-colonial. My name is Anne Bang. I am a professor of Middle Eastern and African Islamic history here at UiB. And I'm really glad to be part of this event and to chair this panel with my excellent colleagues, although the backdrop of our conversation is kind of bleak. When the war broke out earlier this year, we soon started seeing WhatsApp videos circulating that showed the destruction of libraries, of archives, and cherished heritage sites and irreplaceable items of Sudanese history. We saw looting, we saw willful looting, and we saw destruction simply as collateral damage. Now, I want to remind the audience that the willful destruction of patrimony by warring parties is a war crime, as was prosecuted following the destruction that took place in Timbuktu in 2012, for which there was actually a conviction. Moreover, the destruction of heritage by neglect or actual violence is also to deprive people or a group or a section of society of its past and thereby its identity. Now, the wars in Syria and Ukraine has raised the visibility of heritage at risk during war. But war is, in fact, not the only threat to Sudanese heritage, as we will discuss in this panel. What we will do in this panel is that we will first hear a report from the field, if you like, and the state of various types of heritage in present-day Sudan. Then we will discuss how heritage at risk can be best protected, and not least how we as researchers and academic partners can contribute to make Sudan's heritage available, both to the Sudanese themselves, to the people of the world, and not least to a new generation of researchers. So with me, I have an excellent panel. We have to the far left, Dr. Khalifa Omar from the Department of History at the University of Khartoum. He's a social and economic historian of the Middle East and Sudan. He has also worked with environmental and digital history. Then in the next seat, we have archaeologist Hana Abdel Gabar Ibrahim Ahmed. Adam, sorry, who is a PhD student at the University of Napoli L'Orientale, and she is doing her PhD on Islamic pottery in the Sudan Blue Nile. Then we have a nubiologist, Dr. Alexandros Tsakos from the University of Bergen Library. He's the academic manager of the special collections at the University of Bergen Library, responsible for the Sudan collection, and I think you have already met him as a guide of the Mahmoud Saleh collection. Then, to my left, we have Dr. Henriette Hafsos. She's the head of the research department at Volda University College. She has her PhD from Bergen, and she has worked on the Bronze Age of the Nile Valley and medieval Nubia. So before we actually start our discussion, we will play a short video with an interview with Dr. Habab Ahmad Idris, who is an inspector from the Sudanese National Museum. And this is an interview which Huwaida conducted during this past week. So this is, in a way, the most recent updated report from the field, if you like. So please, if we can have the video.
Thank you so much, Habab, for being with us for this interview. We're going to have a very short interview with you. And we hope that the internet will be okay. So before Yeah, before we start the interview, could you please briefly introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Habab Idris Ahmed. I work in the National Corporation for Antiquities and Museums Sudan as the senior inspector. Master degree from University of Bergen, PhD degree from University of Khartoum. Married and I have 2 kids.
MashaAllah. So, Habab, unfortunately, we are all worried about the current situation in Sudan. So, where did the war find you?
When the war started, I was in Khartoum. It was Ramadan. I was sleeping because it started early morning, and I had long night before, so I slept until late time. When I woke up, I looked at my phone. I found my friend of mine who was I was with her last night having Ramadan breakfast. Calling me like 10 times. I was a bit worried about what is going on. So when I called her back, she is like, her voice is very tense, like, Habab, how are you? Are you okay? How is your family? Everything is okay? And I asked her what is going on. Why you are talking like that? And she told me that there is a war started. It seems to be there is a war started. Exactly that's what she said. And I didn't understand what she mean by war. So I walk out and I start to hear shooting. And people like, there's something wrong. And I turned on the TV and I found to confirm all the channels talking about there is a war started in Khartoum.
Okay. And where are you now?
I'm in Kassala,
my
hometown.
Okay.
Kassala is a town in the eastern Sudan. It's my hometown. We decided to go there after 10 days. We didn't plan to go out of Khartoum in the beginning because we thought like everybody else it will be finished soon. It will be end, like maybe a few days or something like that, and also by what we hear in the news.
Okay.
But every day it's getting worse and worse, and I have kids, and the kids start to be really afraid about the situation, and we wasn't so comfortable about the situation, and we don't know how it will be. So we decide to go out, to go to Kassala. We chose Kassala because still I have the rest of my family there.
Okay.
And we choose the day that when the international staff in Khartoum start to be evacuated from Khartoum. So because we thought it will be more quiet and suitable time to move out of Khartoum.
So it's easy for you to cope in your hometown?
Yeah, of course. And fortunately, we didn't face any things like the other people have been facing because we have relatives, we have a bunch of friends. They facing some troubles from the RSF in the street. But fortunately, our area is occupied by them, Jabra South. It's one of the areas that are occupied by RSF, Malaysia, and so fortunately, I think we moved the right time from Khartoum. So we took a minibus and we went to Medani, with Medani. I'm from West Medani. We took another minibus to go to Katala. So the trip took the whole day, from 8 up to 9 o'clock there.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, Habab, now back to your professionality as an archaeologist. How do you see the war is affecting the Sudan national heritage? And for example, like you had been working in several sites. Are there some sites that you are really worried about?
Yeah, this is one of the issues that we start after we contact our friends and our families and confirm that everybody is okay. So we start to worry about the situation of the cultural heritage in Sudan, especially in Khartoum, because we know most of these military areas and the shooting area surrounding the archaeological some monuments, historical monuments, and the main museums, like the Natural Museum, South Sudan National Museum, Khalifa Museum in Omdurman, or Republic Palace in Khartoum. So all this area, for sure, has been affected by this, but nobody knows still now exactly the amount of the damages in this area. But for sure we know because we create like emergency room, WhatsApp group room, and so to be sure that including all the head of this archaeological heritage areas in Sudan and in Khartoum and out of Khartoum. And we compare for sure most of these sites in Khartoum, I mean the historical buildings, in danger and has been for sure affected, especially the Republic Palace and most of the Khartoum University building, and also some of areas in Omdurman too.
Okay, so these are all the sites in Khartoum. What about the effect of the displacement of the people, like in the regional areas?
Yeah, but also this has been affected the archaeological site, of course, because like we have some sites, like 3 sites we registered in the UNESCO heritage list. So like Bijrawiya and Merawi, and Merawi site and the region, in Jabal al-Barkar and other archaeological sites in the north and the Nile State region, have been affected by these people who were migrated, if you can say, to this area, because they start to occupy or to visit the huge amount of people. So it's not easy in such a situation to control all this. So we hired like temporary guards and police to control the damages in the site. Okay.
We're all hoping that this war will stop very, very soon. So, how do you see, like, all these things will, for example, like, will prosper again after the war is stopping? And what is your vision, like, to improve all the affected sites? And
in such situation, the cultural heritage, we need first to evaluate the situation before and to make some first aid. It's like documentation or assessment, like assessment of some of those sites. And as I mentioned before, most of the sites in this shooting area, which is not easy to everybody to go there. But the first step we should go. Fortunately, we start from contact with our international partners through the international organization, and they make like appeal, and really they have quick response. Like they expect any situation because war it might be extended. We have really cross our fingers not to be like that to extend it to other regions. But in such situation, you have to be expected any kind of crisis in such situation to be ready. So we have our team. We have some people have been also evacuated to the other regions. So we create teams from them to start documentation of the monuments, archaeological sites, and the archaeological material too. Because the archive, our documentation archive, is in the National Museum. We don't know what's happened there. Nobody knows. So we need to keep the rest if we can do that. So this is our step now. And also, the first thing that we need to do after the war is up, and we hope to be very soon.
Inshallah.
So it's like to start to assessment the damages, and also to make to ask our international partner to take a part of it, because we already have more than 50 archaeological missions working in Sudan.
Okay. You don't have like digital archives?
Yeah, we do have.
Okay, very good, very good. And they are in a safe server, or?
Yeah, but it's difficult to say that how it should be. Maybe I'm not quite sure if we have a backup of that.
Okay.
But for sure, we have archive digitalization or digital archive. But I don't know what happened to it. The person who is responsible, it's not easy to contact now, because he's in the area where there is no internet connection.
Okay.
So to know exactly the situation. But we have, of course, papers, and also we have a digital one, and also fortunately or unfortunately, in fact, that we are working in this documentation national cooperation for archaeological museum, because we are working in rehabilitation of the Sudan National Museum.
MashaAllah. Okay.
But it's not finished yet according to the law. It's supposed to be reopened March.
Okay.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank the University of Bergen for this step, and we really appreciate it. For me personally, this is an unforgettable stop at the University of Bergen, and I will never forget the collaboration and the support that I have been had from you personally, Hoida, and all the staff there. And we hope really to continue our cooperation between Sudan and Bergen. And I think this is a great chance to renew our project in Sudan again after the war, because this is what we need now. And we have really great experience and projects since 18th. From the 18th. And I hope this will be continue. And so it's like a personal asking, and on behalf of our corporation also, I would like to thank all the staff in the University of Bergen, and also thank Alex for this opportunity, and also thank you very much for choosing me to talk about this topic. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for that.
We are the one who have to thank you for giving us the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Habab. It's my pleasure to take a part on this event.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Habab. And we hope that it will be like a start for more talks and for re-establishing the collaboration in the archaeology.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, please.
I would like also to thank my professor, Randy Holland, for her great, support during my stay in Bergen. I really miss her so much.
And I think she's missing you too.
To her.
Okay. We will send your regards to her.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Regards to your family.
Well, thank you very much to Habab from afar, and we hope that she is still doing fine and okay in Kassala. And thank you very much to Huwaida for conducting the interview. So Habab here touched on many aspects that we can discuss, but I will first ask each of my panelists here to offer up to 10 minutes, I would say, presentation on the state of Sudanese heritage as you know it, what challenges we are facing and have faced. And then we can also turn to the question of what mitigation can be done and how we as academic partners can act. So I'll give the floor first to Henriette. Henriette, please.
Thank you. It's of course a difficult situation. We have our friends and colleagues in Sudan in this war. Habab here, I met in 2005, and we stayed together in the field working for the Meru Dam archaeological salvage project. This was both in 2005 and 2006. So we stayed in the field together for several months. And that was a big joint international effort to salvage the cultural remains threatened by the dams. But the situation in Sudan for the cultural heritage has developed significantly since that time. Then the dams and the building of more dams, and not all of them have materialized, was the biggest issue. But the hazards has grown in complexity. We have now intensification of agriculture, which takes huge areas and that are mechanized, so you get more destruction of what is buried in the soil, which are the concerns of us archaeologists. You have also the same problem with the illicit gold mining, which has only increased since the outbreak of the war and also a bit before the war. And we have also climate change that is a hazard for the cultural heritage in Sudan, with increased flooding, among other things. But then for the past 6 months, we can also add war. And that's the main topic here of the panel. And current war and conflict has, of course, far-reaching implications for all aspects of life. But beyond the staggering humanitarian consequences, it threatens the cultural heritage. And as Anne said in the introduction, it is important for people to have their cultural heritage, both the material and also the immaterial, for their identity and feeling of belonging. So it's something that is important to preserve, even if it can seem a bit unimportant in the face of the sufferings that are currently unfolding in the country. Yeah, so I think we in the panel will suggest and discuss measures and things we can do to have safe options of preserving the cultural heritage in the current situation in Sudan. Yeah, so maybe we can return a bit to it.
Yes, let's do that. The title of the whole symposium here is 60 years and beyond, and I'm really glad to introduce one of the representatives of Beyond, which is the young scholars who will take up the legacy here. So I'm glad to hand over to Hannah. I think you have a PowerPoint, so if that can come on. Do you have the control for it? Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
I will be more deeper for my case study, and I will speak about the risk of the cultural heritage in the Sinar and Handek as case study. First, I will speak about the geographical, to know where the Sinar Old Sinar was the capital of Fond Kingdom, which is located in the left bank of the Blue Nile, about 300 kilometers south of Khartoum and south part of the Jazeera state, with the border of Sinar state. The Sultanate of Sinar was formed by the Pact of Al-Qawasim and Al-Abdullah after the end of the Christian kingdom of the Alawa in 1504. The area of Fond Kingdom Authority, and which was administrative, military, and commercial center for more than 3 centuries. The description of Old Sinar by historians and travelers, this considerable available sources for understanding cultural heritage. It is they know that Old Sinar contained a number of historical and cultural buildings represented by palace, mosque, residential building and markets. In addition, description in approach of the public life. This is just sources we found for Sinar, because Sinar now it is disappeared. This is a photo for Linant Pilford for the description the castles for Sinar, and also this is the mosque. Also photo and for this Sinar, this is photo for 17th centuries. This is also for description the life, the activities in the Sinar in for herds. And I spoke about the risk of cultural heritage in the Sinar sites. For first, the geographical environment. This city located in rainy geographical area surrounding by wadis and near to the river. Additionally, the house in this city built with the simple material that it's not resistant to the natural challenge in this region, and also the armed conflict. The Blue Nile region has been suggested recent armed conflict and historically Sinar was witnessed an ancient battle. Archaeological discovery made in the context of my doctoral dissertation in April 2023 indicate the presence of the battle traces in the third and fourth layers of excavation, suggested that battle took place at these sites. This is for this my excavation. And also weak archaeological work. Archaeological work in Sinar has mainly focusing on survey, and there are no regular excavation operation. This means that significant part of cultural heritage remains unexplored or protected. An urban exhibition and agriculture project, urban exhibition and the settlement of agricultural project, especially near the Nile, posted thread of the archaeological sites and also workshop of the prep. Random excavation. Due to the lack of effective control, residents engage in random digging activities, and also due to the lack of cultural heritage and awareness of the ancient the brick and the large stone used for building their homes, leading the destruction of more cultural heritage. And this is the random excavation doing in the site of Sinar. And this is the Karisla site. This site is east of Sinar. And I went with one of the residents of this area, and I found random digging to use the soil for building their homes. And we found this site with the rich evidence like complete pottery, but we need this site urgent to save everything as possible. In general, this risk led the complete disappearance. This all risk to disappearance of the ancient of Sinar, because now just we found the holes, the big holes for Sinar. We didn't find any structure for building, and also just we found in excavation small finds like pottery, pits, ponds. This is not I think this is a small part for diverse cultural heritage in the SNAC. And the other sites, Al-Khandak town, Al-Khandak located in the north state, about 423 kilometers from Al-Khartoum. The nearest big urban center is Dongola. By historians, page take back Al-Khandak about 1000 BC, when it was one of New Kingdom settlement with the Kalabsha, Dulgu, Tumbus, Old Dongola, Marawi, and Jabal al-Barkal. And Crawford referred the mosque, which has been built in the ruins of the Christian church. And due to the French period 1504, 1821, was affiliated a normally of the French kingdom. And during the Turkey and Egypt rule, the Al-Khandak has been main district of the Dongola. Al-Khandak was significant, and in the last 2 centuries, and an important river port which received goods from Egypt and handled exports from the heart of Western and South Sudan. And it is high time to protect the only one settlement standard example for mud architecture in Sudan, and have a unique structure for building in the Khandak sites. And here I spoke about the risk of cultural heritage in the Khandak sites, also climate change. Because the Khandak surrounding desert to the west and the Nile River to the east. And also this is affected of sand, wind, and Nile floods. Climate change due to the Marawi Dam. After the construction of the Marawi Dam in North Sudan in 2009, the climate change in these sites, and we have increased rainfall, and we can see the roof. It is damage of many roofs in these sites, and also population migration, an important area causing the widening and extension of cultural heritage sites, housing left without restriction, eventually leading the collapse. Also stop with the supporting project, the Qatar project during 2013, 2015, and 2019, 2018. It was supporting the city at Al-Khandak, hard excavation and restriction of public housing. It was planning to create a special museum for Al-Khandak site. But the project was stopped. Here I need to mention about Prof. Intisar. She and Ahmed Hussein, she worked hard at these sites. And also lack of archaeological study. Also, we don't have many work about these sites, many researcher for these sites. An armed conflict, current war, the castle called Al-Qela was particularly effective by armed conflict starting in Sudan in April, and people returned to their old homes, and with the absence of control authority, making the whole sites suitable for sourcing for obtaining stone and red brick to build their homes. the risk of Sudanese cultural heritage. On 15 April, Sudanese repeatedly descended into war between two rival military factions that had led to considerable loss of life, international migration, international displacement, and breakdown of many government services, including management of cultural heritage, as the reason opportunity for looting have arisen through the breakdown of government oversight and absence of the staff. And we need to solve.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much, Hannah. And thank you to you and Henrietta also for reminding us that the current war comes on top of already a lot of threat, which you both pointed out. As most people in this room know, we carry an enormous legacy here in Bergen because we have inherited the archives of all our prominent predecessors, and the man in charge of this is Alexandros. But he's also working with all the Nubian material, so we want to hear from you how you view the current situation.
Thank you, Anna. Yes, it's indeed difficult as a Nubiologist not to begin by this fact, both that the discipline is covering a vast array of activities with the cultural heritage, so not including only archaeology and history, but also the languages and the archives and the current heritage of the Nubian people. And perhaps later on during the discussion, we might be going into issues of identities that were raised in the previous 2 days as regards to these other types of peoples that Sudan consists of. So I could be using one of the 3 hats that I have in every case that I'm speaking, meaning either as the person responsible, let's say, for the Sudan collection in the University of Bergen library. I could be talking as someone who has done and continues to be involved in archaeological projects in Sudan, or in terms of my experience with rehabilitating 2 museum collections in Sudan. But I'll try to cover all these 3 topics without extending the time given, beginning from archaeology, so as to somehow reflect further on the things that Henrietta and Hannah opened. And it's clear that sometimes as soon as you raise a problem, then you point directions to solutions. So if this happens while we talk, excuse me,
No,
Chair.
I think we need solutions.
Yes, it will be nice if we manage to gather them in the end. But anyway, a month ago, we had a seminar here in Bergen, a hybrid seminar about Sudan archives in the frame of war, where we had the chance to have online Samuel Amin from Jebel Barkal, who is one of the 2 archaeologists still working in the country and trying to keep up, preserve, maintain, and inform. So he did raise the problems that we have already pinpointed, meaning the exodus from the epicenters of war to these areas which until now, especially along the Nile in old Nubia, have been considered as tourist destinations for the Hawajas or concession areas for the archaeologists coming from abroad. Now, the visits to these sites have increased tremendously while there is no staff to preserve them, to keep them clean, to keep them organized. And this is not a new activity. People were interacting with the archaeological sites daily, the archaeological site of Jebel Barkal has been a place of visitation for the locals every Friday, for example. But if you would have 100 people visiting on those days, today there might be thousands of them, even with markets taking place in the area. So how do you cope with this new situation, while at the same time, some of the newcomers are interested into finding resources in an area where they are displaced, where they do not have a job, where eventually they don't even have houses. So these resources are anything from the antiquities themselves, rarely, because you need to have a network, and where do you find these networks today? But gold is one of them, and it's something already mentioned. Perhaps you can return to it, but yeah, here you go. People are digging for gold, and the more an area is renowned, the more people will try to gather around it in order to find it and preserve themselves in these conditions, which are very difficult due to war. We talked about housing in terms of using the material from the archaeological sites to build your homes. But building a house, it also takes up space. And in these crowded Middle Nile Valley, new houses encroach on already quite burdened archaeological sites. And again, where will the priority be given? To the people needing to live or to the archaeological sites? And how are you going to tackle this issue after the war? Will you dismantle the houses? Will the people return somewhere from where they fled? Now, gold is something that we experienced quite a lot when I worked with Henriette on Sai Island, which is famous for this sort of activities. And of course, it is not possible for archaeologists to do things against this. Measures that we took had to do with helping the local community financially in order to open up roads that bypassed the archaeological sites and signing them even in the local language. Again, the issue of the Nubian identity. And of course, we, during the service, we came in communication with those interested in the local communities for their own cultural heritage, achieving, for example, the nomination of one of the locals as the official Hafir, the guard of the site. And here you go. This is one solution that was already mentioned yesterday, no, the day before yesterday in one of the panels. And we as archaeologists or stakeholders of cultural heritage should be very much keen on practicing, which means we go to the communities. And when you go to the communities in their localities, you don't go in order to exploit the community, either in terms of your own career or of the data sets that you're retrieving. You go because there is an active involvement into the way they experience their own relation with their cultural and natural landscape. So that's some of the premises of what has been called the last year's community archaeology. And this sort of community archaeology is one of the things that have been proposed as solutions to and responses to accusations about the critique for conducting a sort of colonial archaeology. It's again, Henriette, that in a very important contribution in the discussions around the building of the dams compared the map of the concession areas in the Fourth Cataract region with a map of the colonial regions onto the African continent's map from earlier times. And these issues of the salvage campaigns have received a lot of critique, both from international partners, but also from the locals. And to us, nubiologists, perhaps the most important of these critiques that we need to be constantly addressing is the effect of such campaigns upon the local population, the Nubians themselves being what you would perhaps call in your own jargon, the anthropological milieu around and the political science and so on. IDPs, are they that? Are they refugees? These resettled populations, twice for those of the first cataract, completely unknown what's happening with the Manasir who left the fourth cataract and are now in Wadi Mokaddam in the area between Omdurman and the military airport at Meroe. So, and then the point would be, is this for archaeology and for the cultural heritage issues that we are discussing only a problem of the international community from the West? There has been the last years, and was already mentioned, the largest ever in terms of financing archaeological project, the Qatar-Sudan archaeological project. Mm. There are many things that can be said about that, both on the level of the contributions to the field, to the dissemination of knowledge, to the careers of us working in Sudan. But there are also aspects which have to do with where do these finances come from? What are the targets of those who are organizing such projects, and whether indeed this is a problem of Western colonialism upon the African continent. I think that I truly believe that will be discussed later on is how such projects have offered to the country in terms of training and infrastructure. I will not open that topic now, but moving into the museums, there is a huge question in Sudan archaeology how such projects have helped museum collections. And I have both rehabilitated the Barkal Museum and the so-called Christian Gallery of the Matraf al-Qumi, the Sudan National Museum. The experiences are incredible in terms of the engagement of the local population. The experiences are diverse in terms of how does the local population act in a locality like Barkal, where they feel that they are at home, and in a locality like the Sudan National Museum, where one can feel that is an employee of a state that is not caring for your own well-being and for the cultural history that you are preserving in this museum. So what is happening today in the Sudan National Museum is completely unknown. We've only seen this video with the mummies. Now, in Barkal, we know from Sami that they are active, they are protecting the site, it is safe to a certain degree, but on the other hand, on the other bank of the Nile, there is the Meroe Museum built in order to house the Manasir heritage, and it has been both attacked and flooded. The objects need to be moved. The persons who are doing that is Sami with the local population that has the interest for that. So how do we mitigate the situation? Then to speak about the situation that might be facing the collections in Khartoum, there are other people who are much more knowledgeable than me. I do not receive any positive news from that side. So this then marks the importance of what we might be doing from abroad in terms of preserving the archives that have come to our hands thanks to the hospitality of the Sudanese people all the years that cities like Bergen have had the chance to work in the country. And then our collection, which to my knowledge preserves the largest number of post-medieval manuscripts in the world outside Sudan, and by today, perhaps even including Sudan. Even if these manuscripts are copies of originals, the originals by now are in a state of loss in a good part. And on the other hand, to approach to the end of what I would say in this round. They, as collections, as archives, need to be organized, need to be digitalized, need to be made accessible. And for the time being, those in the country are not. It's not that ours are perfect. You could, in the same screen that Mansour introduced earlier on, you could go into the link for the Sudan collection and see what we have managed to digitize. It's what we could do in terms of that has to do with our own priorities. Among 2,250 self-marks, Sudan collection is the last 5 or 6. We are in Bergen with a local history. We need to find ways that these archives are activated into a situation which is not only praising its past, but is using such repositories as the basis for what we can do from here and onwards. And I think I'll leave it here for now, and I'll come back with more during the discussion.
Thank you so much, Alexandros, and thank you for also pointing out that old solutions or old approaches are not necessarily the ones that we should apply today, which we will come back to. As you all know, the Department of History at the University of Khartoum and the Department of History and all the other things in Bergen have a long period of or history of collaboration. And in the framework of the SNAC program, I've had many conversations with my colleague, Dr. Khalifa Umar. And one of the things that we set out to do in this program is exactly to share and to make available digital copies of what we have ourselves. Yeah. But I know that you have also many other collections there in Sudan, which we would like to hear about also.
Okay, thanks, Anna. Good morning, everyone. And first, I would like to thank SNAC for the invitation. What I'm going to talk about today is the collection of manuscripts and rare books at Khartoum University Library. I will just give the origin, speak about the origin and the scope of the collection, and then after that, I will speak about the risk to the heritage, and last, I will conclude with the requirement or the recommendation, how we can lessen the risk. Actually, the dissertation, oh, sorry, I don't have PowerPoint. So this is a joint effort of the Department of History and the Library of Khartoum University to raise awareness of the importance of the collection at the library and the urgent need to catalog, preserve, and digitize and make that collection accessible anytime and any place, at any place. And it's worth mentioning that the Library of Khartoum University is the only library in Sudan with manuscripts collection. And actually, we thought about it, especially after, after the, in the aftermath of the tragic dispersal of the city. After that, the Khartoum University was subject to destruction, looting, and theft. And we thought that we have to think ahead, and something like this might happen again. But we never thought it's going to be on such a scale. And Anna knows that. Even we have sent this proposal to her a long time ago, before the war. And I remember when we were discussing the urgency of the digitization of this collection, we cited Libya, Syria, Zanzibar, and we thought we are safe. So unfortunately, everybody knows what is going on now. This collection originally came from exclusively from the library of Professor Tijan El-Mahi, It was donated to Khartoum University in 1972 after his death by his family. And of course, he was father of Dr. Ali Tijani Al-Mahi, who did his PhD at Bergen. The collection itself is not only Sudanese heritage, and this is make this collection even more important. It is Sudanese and regional and also international. And beside that, the collection spans various subjects, which is including theology, history, law, literature, geography, natural sciences, philosophy, medicine, and other disciplines. Also, the relevance of this collection, as I said, it is also in different languages, not only Arabic. It's in Amharic, it's in Persian, some in Latin, but most of it is in an Arabic language. This library, when it was donated to Khartoum University, it was classified as one of the most valuable libraries acquired by an individual. And you may say, in just a few minutes, you will understand or realize why this library was one of the most valuable collection of an individual. It contains about 19,000 items, 6,000 documents, and which include maps dating some of them to up to 5 years old, 20,000 letters, 5,000 of which are rare copies. Also, the collection includes General Gordon correspondences together with some of his personal notes, and this is the largest collection of its type anywhere. It is in part of the collection. Also, the collection, part of the collection at that time was 2,000 coins. Some of them date back to the times of Alexander the Great. But of course, these were handed to the Sudan Museum. Also, a part of the collection is some rare stamps and some artistic tableaus, some of the manuscripts up to 800 year old, and also there are some of the rare books. For example, if I can give example, the Book of the Dead, some rare Quranic copies, and the description of Egypt. And a similar copy of the latter was sold by Christie's recently for more than $500,000. But as cultural value, it has cannot be sold. That's it. So we have to make sure we preserve it. That is regarding the collection, but who is Tijani Al-Mahi? I think if I have to speak about Tijani Al-Mahi, I will go on and on and on, but I'll be as brief as possible, and I'll try to link this briefness to what I have said. He's the first Sudanese psychiatrist, and known also as the father of African psychiatry. He held a number of positions in international organizations, WHO and others. Also, he is in 1964, after the October Revolution, he was the member of the Traditional Sovereignty Council and the president also for the council. From 1996 to 1970, he held the chair of psychiatry at Khartoum University, and he was a man of varied talent, and he has different interests. Besides, he is in the medical field. He is a historian, Egyptologist, a poet, and we can see that reflected in his collection. Also, he speaks a number of languages. In addition to Arabic, he was well versed in English, Amharic, Hausa, Latin, and Persian. And this is also, we can also see that in his collection. At present, this collection is facing a lot of risk. One of them is an inadequate storage. It is now housed in one of the rooms in the library in condition unsuitable for conservation of the collection. The other thing is the library itself has a limited budget. A limited budget means that the library cannot recruit, cannot train the staff. There's no material for handling they cannot afford to buy material for handling the documents or the manuscripts. Besides that, the collection is also exposed to harmful environmental conditions. And we know Sudan is very hot. That's one thing. There's no control in the room where they are. There's no control for the temperature or for humidity or for ventilation. There's nothing. Just housing one of the room. And that led to the deterioration of some of the manuscript because of the poor preservation and keeping methods. One of the other things which is happening now, which is the current political situation in Sudan, the ongoing attacks on universities, libraries, and research centers since the start of the war, also brought another threat to this collection. Praise be to God, alhamdulillah, till now the university is nothing happened to this collection. But recently, only 2 weeks ago, the Ministry of Higher Education was destroyed, and it is just maybe 50 meters away from Sudan Library. And Sudan Library is a branch of the main university library, and it houses around 250,000 of items on Sudan. Now, as I said, the collection is safe, but the location of Khartoum University itself is a problem, because Khartoum University is located near the general command of the armed forces. And we always, if you follow the political scene or condition in Sudan, every 2 or 3 weeks there is a demonstration going toward the general command of the armed forces. And as I mentioned earlier, after the tragic dispersal, a lot of destruction took place at the university. So with the war now, we hope that it ends without any damage to this collection. But I think the main aim here is to raise the awareness of the scholars, researchers, society, international institutions to the importance of this heritage and how we can preserve it and digitize it and make it possible, accessible to whoever need to make use of this heritage. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Khalifa. I think you brought up a general problem that I have encountered myself many times, and that is, yes, digitizing is a solution. It is relatively cheap. It is relatively fast. Conservation and safekeeping of manuscripts and documents long-term is enormously expensive and also requires staff expertise over a prolonged period of time. So
I agree with you, but you need digitization. At least you will have a backup.
Yeah,
you can conserve, and somebody will walk in and destroy everything.
It leads me to exactly the mitigation issues here, because there is the question of immediate what to do now, and there's also like the backup. And I think, Henrietta, you touched upon it first, so maybe you want to
one of the first things that needs to be done in such a situation is perhaps to assess the risk, and this started quite early with NCOM together with UNESCO and the International Center for the Study of the Preservation of Cultural Property. They made this assessment during a workshop in Cairo already they had two, one in June and one in July. And they identified 139 at-risk heritage sites in Sudan, which include museums. And 77, which is quite a high number, were categorized at high risk. And that is both, as Alex also touched upon, you can have destruction through the fighting itself, like perhaps NCOM or the National Museum has been affected by, but you also have targeted plundering, and you also have the problem with the migration. And this is, for me, a bit difficult because you might have these half ruins, and then maybe the needs of people today are more important than to preserve this site in a pristine condition. It's very, very difficult issues to deal with. But these are sort of some of the risks due now to the war, and an assessment has been made, and I think it's natural that they do not put the list of which 70 sites are most at risk out on the internet, but they also made an action plan. And
why do you think so? Just asking.
Yeah, it was interested in targeted plundering, or then perhaps think here is
the risk of looting, and
here is something that we can exploit. And I made an action plan and a budget to do various emergency operations. So I think now some of the issues that are arising is coordination of the effort in this workshop. I think none of the foreign archaeological missions working in Sudan were included, and perhaps they shouldn't be, but of course they have a role and can be used in the work that continues. One of the issues that are at hand is, of course, fundraising, because how do you do all the work that is needed? And also the building of new competence, both for the Sudanese and also for the foreign archaeologists, because we need, especially if this becomes a long-term condition, which we of course don't hope, you need perhaps to work more from a distance with aerial surveillance. You need to work more on the documentation and digitalization, both of the sites of archives and the museum objects. And as Habab also pointed to, we don't really know what is the condition of the National Museum. That many archaeologists have been there working and probably have both photos and catalogs. And also Habab could not say exactly what is happening with the digital archive of the museum. So there are many things to start working upon. And I think that coordination here is perhaps quite vital.
Yeah, and also challenging.
Yes. I think NCOM has a plan to set up a new exile office in Cairo.
That's good. That's good to hear.
But also we have colleagues on the ground in Sudan, and we need to take care of them and also not put them at risk in the protection of the heritage.
I want to leave some time at the end for questions and answers from the audience, but who wants to go for you now? I don't want to organize you anymore.
Thanks. I just speak about, I want to say a few words on the recommendation, what we are supposed to do. We talk about the risk. So how are we going to deal with that? First, I told about I think I spoke about the poor storage. Thankfully, we're in the second or the third meeting with the library administration. They agreed to designate a place in their library which will accommodate all the needs of the document unit. According to the head of the manuscript unit, he said he required a digitization lab, conservation lab, reading area, and technical area. So this is now being solved. But we have to have the means for conservation and things after the war. The other thing is there are certain action can be taken now. We don't need to wait till the war ends and then after that start to think about them. I think training, one of the issues we have to think how can be done, because we have just one staff and he is the head of the unit. He's doing all the work, and now the unit itself is closed. Nobody is allowed to go in the manuscript section. Secondly, I think the equipment for digitization, I don't think it costs a lot. So we have to think about if we can find a way to also get hold of some of those equipment. So again, after the end of the war, we can always take a start what we are talking about. And also the collaboration. Collaboration has to start now and from here. It's already there, but we have to redirect some of the collaboration to look at this heritage. And also we have to seek also collaboration from other organizations and institutes so that they can help. And this doesn't need to wait till the end of the war. And I think also you need the items for handling, like I don't think they are costly. Cotton gloves and cushion and the type of thing, I don't think they are costly. But I think things related to the stop of the war, we can delay them. But there are other things I think we can do. We can do, and we have to take this further. So if there's any benefit of the war, of course, there's no benefit from coming out from any war, but we hope if we manage to preserve this collection for future generation, for researchers, for scholars, for societies, I think.
Thank you. That is exactly it. I mean, we are historians. We need something. We need the sources to work with, and they need to be available for the next generations of historians to reinterpret what we have said. I want to ask Hannah or Alexandros if you have some final comment before
I think it's spoke about anything, but to mention we need international cooperations to fix it. What's the problem for some sites if have effective for war or not, and also we need to use a rule for any site to against any transitions of archaeological sites, and also we need training for the staff, targeting staff and the student and population and communities about this to knowing simple things like take a photo for the sites, or if you can training for remote things or digital digital image for to save the sites. That's it.
Alexandros,
may I?
Please.
It was in the first seminar that we had after the war up in the library, that in the end of some very interesting discussions, I had an intervention. I said that what is the most important thing in such events, apart from the event itself, is the fact that there are some people back there, I mean, in the epicenter of war, that feel that there are those who might have an opportunity to influence some decision-making and some action-taking, still care. So these people need to hear that. in order for these people to hear that, you need what it would be called a line of communication. And my hunch is that, well, however you're going to turn it, either you speak about coordination or you speak about in advance of the end of the war, inshallah, good training and preparation for infrastructural building, these lines of communications are those who, for example, are going to make it possible that whatever NCAM and Michael Mallinson, Aleph, and the NCAM in Cairo are doing gets into Khartoum. For example, money talks, the money that are needed. So when my friend in Barkal, Sami, is saying that he's moving Meroe Museum and he's using the local population, I'm saying, how? You're not paid. There's no state which gives you a salary. Who is giving you this money? So there are some people who are involved into channeling money up the Nile until it reaches those people who will use this money for both for the protection of the cultural heritage as it stands now in the country, but also, if you wish, in order to activate the people around towards this direction and prepare for whatever we'll be doing later on. So there comes the other point, that my friend Sami and Mahmoud at Bejarawiya and whoever else from our colleagues is back there, they are those who have the contact with the locals, not you who are out, those who are in. And these locals are those who can both be the active representatives of the protectors of cultural heritage in each single locality, from Sai Island to the Eastern Desert, to the UNESCO sites, inside the museums, next to the homes of the individuals. And it is this part of the training that we were actually talking in big words all these years that we have been active in Sudan. How do you educate the people in order that their mindset is the one that protects what we are traveling from abroad to think that we are protecting better? And I think that SNAC has a set of good targets that we wanted to implement before the war started. And just to land it on a very simplistic, if you wish, issue of archives, you go out for your fatur or for your shai in all these areas that are not bombed or sniped upon. And you speak with the families that are present, and you make them aware of the fact that in their own homes, they have the archives of both past and present memory. And this is what we then need to coordinate, how it's going to be preserved physically in Sudan until the end of the war and before we can build the infrastructure that is needed, and digitalize it in order to become the voice in and out of this country. And it was with the greatest of pleasure of hearing this, of seeing that this conference opened with exactly the most important of this memory that we have today, all of us who are interested in Sudan. And this is the memory of the revolution. And it's the same people who did that who are going to regain the streets. Because irrespectively of how you turn the dice, someone needs to do that. Someone needs to go again in the streets in Khartoum and Umdurman and Bahrain and Kalakla and whatever you want to call it, and begin selling things to everybody without being afraid. And these memories of the revolution, the posters, the mottos, the sounds, the smells, is what is part of the archives that we need to find ways of preserving. So digitizing is one thing. Creating the lines of communication, I think, is the basis for finding ways to do it while we are still here.
Thank you, Alexandros. I want the audience also to be engaged, and we have like 8 minutes left, but I think
I need
Henrietta
to add something to Alexandra. I think when we talk about preservation, we cannot go around and collect the manuscript, and we don't know how we're going to preserve it. I think I mentioned to you yesterday that every week we receive contact from especially the families who are involved in the modern history of Sudan, that we have collection, but we are not going to give it. Sometimes they say they were not going to give it to National Archive. We want it to be, for example, at Khartoum University. We can collect it without, we don't have the means to preserve it. And that is one of the problems. When we talk about the conservation lab, we thought this has to serve all the other universities and all the centers or institutions with archives. So if they need restoration, then that they have to come to Khartoum University. But I know digitization is an international trend, but it is still yet in Sudan to receive the same attention. So that is one of the things we are trying to change.
Henriette, did you have a comment?
I had a question for Hannah, because you had a very nice presentation and you're doing your PhD. How will the war affect your progress in your study? Because we can also risk having a lost generation in research. As you touched upon.
Now I don't know what the situation of my sites and Khandaq and Sinar, but I knowing some news about the Khandaq because I contact from some humans. They told me the castle, some people to went to the castle to take the big stone and to build their home. And about the Sinar site, it is just I really don't know what the situation in Sinar sites now, but I think he is effective also with the war.
Thank you so much, and of course the coordination and the questions of what best to do, when and how, it's not an easy one, and especially in a country as rich in heritage as Sudan. But we have also a very competent audience here. So I'd like to invite comments and questions from the audience in the minutes we have left. We have Huwaida and Albrecht.
I have a question to you, Professor Khalifa. The collection from Ali Tijani and the Sudan National Archive, are they in a safe place?
Sudan National Archive, up to now, there's nothing. Because people, I think, that again, like the collection at University of Khartoum, up to now they are safe. Okay. But you can't tell what will happen tomorrow. But some people, they confuse the National Archives with Muhammad Umar Bashir Research Center. Okay. That was destroyed, unfortunately, because it was part of Ahliya University. But the archive, National Record Office, and Khartoum University collection, up to now, they are safe. So I hope nobody heard this from the people who are doing this.
And a very quick question to Alexandros. You know, I'm always a little bit shaky when it comes to the English pronoun in plural. You mentioned your involvement as an archaeologist in the sites and also your involvement as a librarian with the special archive. And you commented that after the war, we, you know, like I'm always, when you say we, so who are?
Yes.
Okay.
And
because Habab mentioned that like after the war, they would like to contact the international organizations and bodies to save what can be saved.
Yes.
And you mentioned we will. So who are we?
I'll give you the exact same answer that I gave you when we discussed that at the end of the seminar at the library. In Nubian, there are two forms of the first person plural pronoun, inclusive and exclusive. I would love that the Nubians that we work together feel that they can use with us an inclusive first person plural personal pronoun. It's not up to me to define the we. It's up to you to define the we.
Always, please.
This is actually one of my points. I've been working both in the Sudan, but also in northern Mali in the Timbuktu, with the Timbuktu manuscripts, as you know. And I think your point, Alexandros, is very important, the local ownership.
Yeah.
And when Timbuktu was invaded and occupied by the jihadists in 2012, it was the locals who smuggled the manuscripts out of Timbuktu to safety. And and not necessarily locals with high international connections. It was really the local population, as you also pointed out regarding the Merowe Museum. I think this is an extremely important point. My second point was in the interview with Habab, I was struck by her saying that, yes, we have digitization, but I don't know where the hard disks or whatever are. And this is again something that I know from Timbuktu. We have digitized lots of manuscripts there, but in 2012, the disks, the hard disks, you know, no one knows where they ended up, basically. And there are other examples of that. So digitization, yes, is important, but off-site storage, preferably several off-site storage, is equally important, has been demonstrated time and again. So these were two of my points. I have a question also to Alexandros, but I don't know whether we have time. You mentioned that there's a lot that can be said about the Qatar Sudan program. I wonder, you mentioned some positive aspects. I wonder whether you want to say more about that.
Thank you, Albert. We are actually approaching full time here, but I'll give 1.5 minutes for those who feel like giving the...
I'd love for once to say something positive about CASAP. Do I have a chance? Yes. CASAP does a regulation for the missions that received their money, that they will produce guides for the archaeological sites they are preserving, they are excavating, they are the stakeholders for. And not only these guides were produced, but they also had to be produced in Arabic. And yesterday we heard about someone feeling that she is a local informant in some of the discussions. And this is absolutely so true. The way that we conduct our research and the languages that we produce our research, the way we find means either digital or analogical to disseminate them is extremely important. And apart from the methodologies that not necessarily need to be imbued by the Western epistemological models, but that's a huge topic to open. I think that our dignity is saved if we translate into the language of the stakeholders, like the book that I received yesterday that managed to include a Nuer chapter into the Nuer dilemmas content, like we are doing in the journal Dotao, trying to translate things as much as possible, not only to Arabic, but also into Nubian language, like it happened with CASAP, and it should continue to be happening.
I am sorry to say that we have reached the end of our time. I want to thank this excellent panel for a discussion that we could go on for many hours. I want to thank the audience, and I want to thank especially Habab for making the time to talk to us, and Huwaida for making the film. So thank you all.